Hey, we have breaking news tonight. You might have heard, or maybe you haven't yet, but Matt Gaetz has stepped down as Trump's attorney general pick, and Pam Bondi is now announced by Trump to be his new attorney general pick. Now, first, let's see how MSNBC reacts to the news about Matt Gaetz. Nicole from MSNBC had to stick around. I think she was like on her way out of the office, and she had to stick around for this one because it was way too exciting. She's like a kid at the candy store. I want you to pay attention to how happy she is and how the two of these news hosts want to take credit for this, but then they also still don't miss an opportunity to gaslight you by saying that they just held a mirror up. They just delivered the news. They just held a mirror up to let the American public know what's happening. No, they didn't. They smear, they defame, and they can't hold a mirror up to anything, especially their own credibility and how they behave. Watch how happy Nicole is and how they gaslight you, even in this video. Watch this.
Reporting matters, materials that have been developed by an investigative process, some of which haven't come out, maybe still should, matter, and that there are limits still.
I hope that's right, that there's limits and that there's a line. I remember in 2017 saying, once the bottom's calling, it wants to know if we're there yet. And I don't know if that's it. I think what is true is that bad press still matters to Donald Trump. And so I think only time will tell if this was about too much bad press for this guy, or if it was about an actual bottom. Because if it's about an actual bottom, there is an equally disturbing police report, and I'm sure you've read every page of it, about Pete Hegseth's alleged sexual assault of a woman in Monterey, California. So if it's about a limit, then that limit should hold and apply to both of them. If it's about uniquely salacious and tedious and gross press and members of your own party talking about a guy who crushes ED medicine, blah, 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 then maybe it's just about bad press. But if it's, as you said, about a limit, then maybe it isn't the first.
First of all, I have to respond to that because, Nicole, it doesn't get to just be about the two things that you say it gets to be about. There's a lot more that can go into play besides just what MSNBC decides is the situation. See, this is immediately them gaslighting you because she doesn't tell you the facts. The facts are that he dropped out. The facts are that Matt Gaetz resigned. There was no limit there. And of course, we don't know what happens behind closed doors. But in my opinion, I think Matt Gaetz just thought, you know what? I'm going to step back. What he said in the tweet was that he basically, to summarize, he wanted to step down because it was drawing too much focus away from the transition, from Trump's transition. Now, that would be putting the country in front of your own personal gain, right? But of course, they don't talk about that. And also the scrutiny that Matt Gaetz is under, he doesn't want to maybe go through that publicly while trying to transition into a very important office because it's going to distract. It's going to distract from what he needs to do. And he needs to be ready to roll on day one. And because he respects, in my opinion, Trump and the administration. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know everything either. But from my instincts is that he thought this is getting too heated. I'm going to step down. And they always say that the girl that he was with, allegedly slept with, was underage. Now, it does matter what the age is, but they never say she was actually 17. Underage is underage, I get it, but it's not like she was 12 or something. She was 17. I am 16. Okay, sorry. Anyhow, let's hear what else they have to say.
Let me unpack what I think you're saying, and then I promise we'll let you go. Can't hold you.
I love this. I love it. It's so lonely out here. I love talking to you.
As our surprise guest for Nicole didn't know she was booked for 10 minutes, but to unpack what you're saying, it's certainly true. And I take your note of caution about how much we interpret what is happening in real time. We always try to be that careful. But even if it is only, quote unquote, only that, what we call headlines, what the president-elect considers bad press, then there is still in there a line where, while he spent the better part of a campaign year attacking the press and crescendoing in the final 2 weeks to musing, or he would say, quote, joking about violence against the reporters who cover his rallies, all of that vitriol is still matched by the independent and hopefully accurate, nonpartisan press mattering, because what's underneath those headlines is something that's true and that could not merely be willed away as, quote, fake news.
Isn't that hilarious that they really have no idea? Talk about unpacking. Why don't you unpack all your BS? It's unbelievable. And in some ways, bad press is good press, but I don't think he's after bad press. I think that he just realizes that it's par for the course, especially under the current media climate. But I think Trump would love some good press. I think what he would love is just fair press that delivers the facts. But we know MSNBC does not do that.
Look, both things are true, right? I think Trump is still a voracious consumer of his own press. And if he was satisfied by the pandering and the state media like coverage he gets on Fox News and even farther to the right, we wouldn't hear him talk about the press, right? If Fox was enough for him, he wouldn't care about what was on any other network. It is not, and so we do. It is also true that he was reelected, even while we simply held up a mirror to the things he was saying and covered it fearlessly. It should be, I think, a signal to all of us to continue to be a mirror, right? To hold it up and show what he's doing. If there's even the slightest fact that the coverage of the facts about Matt Gaetz had anything to do with any of the calculations made by any of the Senate Republicans who said, no, I'm not going to do it, right? And you can't prove that the coverage of Matt Gaetz, the two investigations by the Ethics Committee and by DOJ had anything to do with their decision to say, no, this is a bridge too far. But you also can't divorce the fact that we covered Matt Gaetz, even at a moment when a lot of the commentary was that Matt Gaetz got the job to do retribution. And the conversations he was having with Republican senators, he said, and it was reported by Mark Caputo, he said to a Republican, look, on week one, I'm not going to storm through with stormtroopers at MSNBC or indict Liz Cheney on week one. And they pressed him on that. So threats against the press are a piece of the Trump strategy in these early days to try to chill the coverage. But it is possible that the coverage of the people Trump picked may have had something to do with stiffening the spines of some of those Senate Republicans.
I think you're more interested in your own press. Whatever they say about Trump, I find that they're really talking about themselves. She's so enamored thinking that she did it all. And then she talks about, I don't know this and I don't know that. Well, as a journalist, I mean, I'm on YouTube. I feel like I can do my opinion. This is an opinion-based channel. But on MSNBC, where they're supposed to give you facts, they don't say that they're just all opinion all the time, but we know that they're all opinion all the time. She hasn't delivered any facts at all. And no, you didn't hold up a mirror for the American people. You smeared Donald Trump for the last 4 years. Well, really the last 8 years, right? But the last 4 very heavily. And then during his campaign, this last one where he won, that's pretty much all you did was smear him. You didn't hold up the facts. You took sound clips of the facts that would make him seem terrible. You didn't just say the actual facts. Now let's watch how they cover even the facts of Pam Bondi being tapped by Trump to be the new pick as Attorney General. Now this is a smart, with it, very credentialed lady, perfect for this role. And they know that, but watch how they try to cover up what they actually know about the facts and spin it to be something negative, because that's MSDNC's job, apparently. Watch this.
Matt Gaetz, who formerly publicly withdrew today. And now, moments ago here, we just got President-elect Trump announcing a new selection for Attorney General, former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. She was a lawyer who has worked alongside Donald Trump's impeachment defense lawyers at the first impeachment. She played that role for then President Trump. In a new post that we got here, 6:28 p.m. Eastern from Donald Trump's Truth Social, He says he is announcing former Attorney General of Florida, Pam Bondi, as our, quote, next Attorney General of the United States. And he cites her work as a prosecutor for nearly, quote, 20 years. A contrast, of course, to Matt Gaetz' inexperience. And he says she was, quote, very tough on violent criminals and made the streets safe for Florida families. He goes on, and this is notable given the controversies. Donald Trump, in this statement, says, quote, the partisan DOJ has been weaponized against me, not anymore. Pam will refocus the DOJ to its intended purpose. We are following this breaking story. It came just moments ago here as we were covering the other DOJ news with Donald Trump's other first pick for AG, dropping out, Matt Gaetz. And we're joined by Juanita Tolliver, who is covering that story with us. Welcome back. This is that kind of breaking news night. Your thoughts on the fast naming of a replacement?
I think the first thing that comes to my mind, Ari, is loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. It's my understanding that Pam Bondi has been right there, yes, Kendrick, right there with Trump on his super PAC for the 2024 election. She helped participate in his legal contestation of the 2020 election and vote counting in that election, as well as apparently engaging in some of his previous cases down in Florida. And so I feel like she is someone who Donald Trump fully expects to be able to pick up the phone and call and do his bidding. Remember, this is a behavior and approach that Trump attempted with William Barr, but apparently Barr had a threshold that prompted him to stop doing Trump's bidding around his push around 2020 election and overturning the election. But Pam Bondi seems to be someone that he's plucked from Florida. We know he is a Florida man, but he's plucked because he's familiar with her and fully expects her to go from his super PAC now into the DOJ to do his bidding, which we know includes cleaning house over at DOJ for anyone who's been critical of him.
Look, they keep saying the loyalists, they're all loyalists. If you run a business, if you hire anybody for anything, which is essentially what Donald Trump is doing because he's running the business of America, right? When you run a business, you want people to be loyal to your business. That's a regular, normal thing. They try to spin it to be something really negative, but that is absolutely normal. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for the past, how long have I been? For the past 11 years, I've been an entrepreneur owning my own business. I have an acting studio and theater. I teach acting and personal development. And early on in my business, I had a couple people who were really jealous of me to their own accord. That's what they said. I didn't think that. I thought we were all wonderful working together and I really liked these girls. And they came and told me, one of them was an alcoholic, I guess. And so in her amends process, she told me that her and the other girl had been lying about me to my students because they were jealous of me. And so they know for a fact that students left. This one girl said she knows for a fact that students left because of the lies that she made up about me. And then like 6 months to a year later, she came back and wanted to have her job back. This is a girl who was lying about me, cost me business. And so, of course, I don't want to hire somebody like that back. Of course, I want somebody who's going to be loyal to my mission, loyal to my vision so that I can help and serve my clients. That only makes sense. But they always try to spin this to be a negative thing. Now, watch when they talk further about her credentials. They're not so happy anymore. They're back to their, pompous look that MSNBC and all mainstream media always have. The View, they always have this very pompous look. And you can watch the video that I posted just before this video earlier today, because in the thumbnail, they both have this pompous look. I'll show you Abby and who's the other girl? I just forgot her name. Anyhow, you'll see. I'll link it at the end here if you want to watch that video, because they always have that pompous, like higher than thou look, except for Nicole in the last video. When they feel like they got you, then they'll smile. But see, right now in this, they don't feel like they got him because they're like, oh, dang, he got somebody very, very good and very qualified, which all of his picks are. But this one, they really can't pull apart other than the fact that she's loyal, which is a good thing.
Welcome back, Jason.
Thanks, Ari.
It's a big news night. I'm gonna let you get in here, but I'll tell viewers, because I always try to keep it as real and frank as possible. This is how this works. We did book these two guests for a different Attorney General nominee story, but I don't think either of you knew that this was breaking. The timestamp on Donald Trump's statement tonight, 6:28 p.m., Eastern, naming Pam Bondi. I want to add a couple more details on that because it's a breaking story, and then Jason, bring you in here.
Before I forget, if you are getting value from this video, please do subscribe. It helps a lot. It helps women like me to actually be empowered. And like I've said in other videos, if you don't subscribe, I'll just call you a misogynist. I'm just kidding. No, I will though. I will. And then I'm going to go on MSNBC and I'm going to say somebody who I've never met and don't even know because they didn't subscribe is misogynist. So there. Do I win? Do I win something? No, I don't win. Let's all celebrate freedom of speech and please do subscribe. Thank you. Love you long time.
There is a distinction that everyone should understand about this Attorney General nominee versus Matt Gaetz. Many people, experts, nonpartisan officials, as well as Republicans, noted that Gaetz had essentially no experience as a prosecutor or in the kind of legal managerial work that anyone would do at any leadership level at DOJ, let alone the top post of Attorney General of the United States. The contrast to Ms. Bondi is she does have that kind of experience, much more traditional than what you would see in a top DOJ post, because she was the top law enforcement official in the state of Florida, and she has over 15 years experience in that role and other roles as a prosecutor. Experience, it is much more of a traditional role, something that the Senate Judiciary Committee and others who vet these kind of nominees would see as a positive, as experience. The flip side, which our guest Juanita just mentioned, is unlike traditional attorneys general, this is an individual who's very tied politically to Donald Trump, the loyalty that he has talked about. And while there is nothing disqualifying about working on an impeachment defense, it positions her not as someone who was a nonpartisan state-level prosecutor ready to rise up to the DOJ, but someone who's already been in those really searing partisan battles over Donald Trump's conduct in history. And you want generally an attorney general who is not overly tied to past partisan positions, even when they intersect, for example, with politics and law in Washington. So that's one update I wanted to give and bring you back in, Jason. I say that with all accuracy and fairness. On paper, her state-level experience is much closer to what presidents in both parties have sought at the DOJ. That's a huge difference with Matt Gaetz. The political part, though, is different. Right. And then what I bring to you is, and Juanita mentioned it, you have that political history and you have a proposed number two, a deputy attorney general who recently handled Donald Trump's criminal defense. So if this were the team, and they have to go through vetting and confirmation, but if this were the team, this would be two of the most politically defensive lawyers of the personal capacity of an incoming president we've ever seen running DOJ at the same time.
All right, I completely agree. And quite frankly, my thought is that after Gaetz dropped out, it would be essentially somebody from Trump's legal team. It would be like a Jay Sekulow or somebody like that. I assume that's where he would get these people from. Unlike William Barr, even going back to when we were all kids and like Janet Reno, right? Occasionally attorney generals try to behave like they are not the personal lawyer of the president of the United States. That is completely out the window. Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses and finding legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
Okay, of course they have nothing positive to say. We already knew that. All they have to say is that she's extremely qualified, and that's a threat to them, essentially. Essentially, they want Donald Trump to pick people that hate him. Of course he's not going to pick people that hate him. That's like common sense 101, right? You're not going to hire people that hate you, and you're going to hire people who are extremely good at what they do, or they have really good qualifications, meaning they don't have to have done the job before, but they need to have the qualities that you need to do the job that they're going for, if that makes sense. For instance, one time I was a hostess at a fine dining restaurant, and the owner of the restaurant needed to have a new events director. I was in Los Angeles at the time. People from all over Los Angeles, some of the best, fanciest, most credentialed events directors were applying for the position. Meanwhile, the owner of the restaurant came to me as the hostess and said, Leah, I want you to do the position. I said, what do you mean? You're getting all these like fancy events directors. I don't know anything about events. He said, yes, but you know about the restaurant and you know about the clients and you know how to work with me. He said, these other events directors are going to come in here and try to run the show. This is my restaurant. He said, so I want it run how I want it run. And so with you, I know that you're going to work with the guests and I know that you're going to give them the best experience per what I want for my vision and mission of the restaurant that I run and operate, which makes perfect sense. And then I stepped into that position and then I knew all about it. And I was a really good events director and made a lot of money for the restaurant. So he was very smart in doing that. He had more foresight than I did. I think that's what Donald Trump does with some of the people that don't have the qualifications maybe for the exact job that they're going into, meaning they haven't done it before, but they have the qualifications, meaning like Dr. Oz, he has the qualifications. He's just never actually done that particular job of running the Medicaid and Medicare office and all of that, right? But he's a heart surgeon. He's extremely smart. He's been a heart surgeon. He ran a TV show. He's been a professor. And I find it so hypocritical that this professor on MSNBC is like, oh, you have to be this way and that way. And it's like, you're a professor at a college and obviously you're 100% biased. But if you want to see how these guys are so pie in the sky, pious and holier than thou and better than everybody as they make fun of Dr. Oz, which is a great pick, then watch this video.